Zoho offers a business analytics software called Zoho Analytics. With Zoho Analytics, you can pull data from any and all Zoho applications into one application, Zoho Analytics, and create your own reporting. I am going to show you how to create a pivot report using data from the CRM, but in Zoho Analytics. But we're also going to display the data in Zoho CRM. All right, guys, let's get started. First things first, if you want to be able to pull data in from multiple sources and combine that data, maybe using SQL statements, you need them all in one single workspace. When you first go into Zoho Analytics, you'll see a section called Workspaces. You only need one. There's no need for multiple. If you do multiple and you pull your data from different sources into each of those, you can't combine them. So it's always best to just create a single workspace. Now we'll go into the workspace and create the data source sync. Over to the left, you'll see data sources. We're going to add a data source. Now you'll see a plethora of options, not just Zoho applications, but third-party apps you can connect to Zoho Analytics. We are going to use Zoho CRM to pull data in for our leads. So I'm going to choose Zoho CRM. You'll get this message here. You can choose to not show the message again if you'd like. And then once we get in, we're going to choose which tables and fields we would like. Since we are going to create a report for our leads, we're just going to make sure that all of the fields that we want are here. So we don't necessarily need those. We are going to, let's just say we want the city and the state. We want to know if they have opted out of emails, if they've been converted, the converted time, if they've unsubscribed. Okay. So let's take these fields and pull them into a report. You have the option to schedule the sync for daily or hourly. I like to do hourly. They used to only allow us to sync data up to every 3 hours. But now we have the option to sync every hour. So that's great. If you check this box, it is going to give you their default reports. I'm going to leave it checked so you can see what that looks like. But normally I like to create my own reports. So I'm not a huge fan of the default reports, but that does not mean that they're useful. That they're not useful. They may be very useful for you. So I'm going to keep that checked, and then we're going to create. When you first create the data source, it's going to sync the data or fetch the data, and that can take some time. It's not odd for it to take several minutes. At some point, you may want to, just kind of move on to something else and then come back and check and see if the sync is done. Now we can see that we have successfully set up our workspace and our data sync. I'm going to click OK. And now I see some dashboards. There are a couple of dashboards that were added. And then here are some of those reports that I was telling you about, the default reports. The data, you can see from the CRM, we have 5 tables that were imported. Now to the fun part. We are going to create a report for leads. Let's just start with the plus sign. This is going to give you some options. The pivot view is the most used. Well, for me anyway. I use the pivot view more than anything. Of course, I do create dashboards as well, and queries. Create lots of queries. But the pivot view, I think we may be able to get all of the data that we would need for this report without using a SQL query. So what I am going to do is I'm going to choose the leads table. That's where I want my data. And I am going to pick and choose the fields that I would like in this report. Let's call this leads report. The first thing I would want is their name. I'm just going to use the full name option. And then I want the lead source. I want to know where the lead came from. I want the lead owner. Okay. And let's get the status as well, the lead status. I also would like to know what city and state, if we've collected that data. Remember that you can only get out what you put in, so if you put the data in, you can get the data back out. All right, so we have the full name, the lead status, the lead source, the owner of that lead, and then the city and the state. Now, what I like to do is I like to go into the settings. I'm going to save this first. I like to go under settings and change some of the formatting. I like for my columns to all be aligned. And then I'll also like to repeat the label in each row, and I want to see the horizontal lines between the rows. I also like to remove the no value placeholder when there's no data. Another thing I like to do, make it a little easier to view. I changed this, the theme. All right, now we have a report. Okay, I'm going to save this. The other thing we want to do is we want to add some filters. There are two ways to add filters. You can either add filters for the entire report so that it only pulls data that fit that criteria, and or you can create user filters, which will allow the person who is reviewing the report to filter based on the user filters that you've placed in here. I would like to add a filter. You know what? We added nothing for dates. Let's just add the created date, because we want to know when the lead was created. And I want the full date. You have an option to do this by month and year, week and year, date and time. I just want the date. Okay, perfect. Now when we go over to user filters, I can add created time and tell it that I want to be able to enter a date range, and it gives me the leads based on that date range. So that's what I'm going to use here. I would also like to be able to filter by the lead source. Let's also do lead status. And maybe also lead owner. Okay. I'm going to save this and we're going to review. Now you can see you have your filters at the top. If I would like to filter this data based on, let's just say we wanted to see everything for 2024. Now this is data in my demo account, so there's no data. There we go. We have 3. So there are 3 leads that are in 2024. We also can filter by the lead source. So you can ask it, hey, how many came from the contact form? Or how many were from Facebook? Probably none. Okay, we've got 1. All right, and so on. The lead status is going to be whether or not, and this is going to depend on what your lead statuses are. Obviously, these are customizable, but initially you'll have not contacted, contacted, contact in future. So those that have been contacted, can see those here, not contacted. And then the lead owner will just be who owns the lead. Okay. I am going to show you sometimes when you create dates. Let's just do this, date created. It gives you a funky little label, so you can go in and change those. Okay, now that we have our report, next we are going to add this report to our CRM. All right, to add this report to the CRM, we are going to go to the settings. After going to the CRM and modules and fields, there is an option called web tabs. I'm going to click on that. You can see there are already two here. We're going to create a new tab. We're going to call it Leads Report. And we're going to put the link for this report in here. If you go to share this view, no we don't. We go to URL, we're going to copy this. You can opt to refresh this every 120 seconds or whatever you'd like. I am allowing it to include the title and the description for the report. We can also choose the toolbar. So I'm going to copy this. And then also you have to make sure that the permissions are what you want. This is saying if you have the ability to log in to Zoho Analytics, then they will be able to view this. You can make this accessible without a login as well, and then you can make it accessible within your organization. So I'm going to copy this. We're going to go back over to our web tab and paste our link here. We can choose to allow this web tab to be accessible by different profiles. Right now it has administrator. We have another profile called standard we could add it to, and save. Now when I go to these three dots here, the leads report is here. I click on it and I see my report along with the user filters. Now we didn't enter a description, or the title is here, but we didn't enter a description. If we did, that would be here as well. And you can again filter by any of these options that we have on our filter here. And voila, now your report that is actually in Zoho Analytics can be viewed from Zoho CRM. As you can see, creating reports in Zoho Analytics can be simple. It can get complex as well, because sometimes you will need to use SQL statements in order to bring the data together. However, Zoho Analytics is extremely useful. I use it for absolutely all of our clients, basically. But if you would like more in-depth training, whether it's on Zoho Analytics or any of the Zoho apps, we do have an option called StreamPath Membership that you guys can check out. Just click on the link in the description. And of course, if you ever have questions or comments, just leave them in the comments. Until next time, guys.